All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us. By the way, a quick reminder, guy who lost $12 million on the Astros yesterday, Mattress Mac, will be joining us later in the program. Also coming up in hour number 2, a Parkland dad lost his child. Andrew Pollack has a new book out. He's going to be joining us in the next hour. But, we've been talking a lot about this guy, Vindman. And so is the president, and so have many Republicans, assaulting his character. A guy that won the Purple Heart, a war hero. He risked his life for this country, and people are trying to shoot him down, for lack of a better word, going after his character. So I figured, why not get this guy on the line? He is an Army veteran. He is also a Purple Heart recipient. He is a conservative talk show host out there in L.A. and also a war hero. His name is Bryan Suits, and he joins us right now on the line. Bryan, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
Well, I'm Bryan with a Y, and I'm dismayed to find out that you're Bryan with an I. But I'm doing good. And by the way, to my daughter, I'm just the farter in charge. I'm not war hero.
Well, to me, you are. So, and anybody that serves this country honorably as you did, whether you even get a Purple Heart or not, I have tremendous respect for you. So your opinion matters when it comes to this stuff. Now, I've been saying all along, I think the way that, not all, but some of these Republicans have been going after Vindman's character, the way Laura Ingraham on Fox News went after him the other night, to me is absolutely and positively disgusting. And I think whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, you have to call this stuff down. You are a Purple Heart recipient. What do you make of another fellow Army veteran being attacked like this? And I understand you're a conservative, but what do you make of some of these people, including the president, calling him a never-Trumper?
It's disgusting to go after a active duty American hero. I mean, this guy's bio sounds like you wouldn't believe if you submitted this in a script in Hollywood, it would be rejected. If Andrew Sorkin wrote this into The West Wing, they would reject this and say unbelievable. The guy and his brother, their story, their father bringing them here from Ukraine during the former Soviet Union. They choose to serve the country. They go to war, and then they go to war, then they go to war. And Vindman in 2005, just like me, was whacked by an IED. I was hit by a mortar, an IED, and a bullet. Wow. On three separate dates. And I just need to clarify for your audience. The Purple Heart is actually the easiest award to win in the Army or the Marine Corps. You just stand there. It's really easy. And then you get free parking. The best parking at Best Buy you've ever had. And the deal is, in my case, I've got more than one. You can't park any closer to Best Buy than you already do. You can't go into the 4K TV section and park.
Well, what? You're undermining what went on, obviously, and it's funny. But you guys, the heroism that you guys have shown is incredible. And I'm so sorry that happened to you. Thank God you made it through. And that's why I call people like you heroes, because you put your life first for the country. And you should be, it's so honorable, and you should be, people should be talking about that when it comes to people like you and this guy Vindman, who's just doing his job, and he's doing the right thing by speaking the truth, I would imagine. But why there's so many people on the right that are going after his character, and they seem to think because he might be a Democrat, and by the way, we don't know that, or because he might not like Donald Trump, we assume that he's lying.
And that's the part that freaked me out is, first of all, it shouldn't matter because we're supposed to be apolitical when we're in uniform. And the president, the commander-in-chief, went after one of his own troops and called him a never-Trumper. And the Army felt the need to respond. I was equally dismayed yesterday because taskandpurpose.com actually called the Army and said, do you have a reaction to what the president said, calling this guy a never-Trumper? And the Army actually officially responded. And they responded by saying that Lieutenant Colonel Vindman is a 20-year veteran with multiple deployments, and his fidelity and honor are unquestionable and all that. I wish the Army had not responded. But I mean, obviously, I wish the president had not questioned somebody in uniform, because then people like me get to say to him, wait. You had bone spurs. And this guy it's a volunteer military. He came here from another country. He could have run a corner liquor store,
right?
But he and his brother joined the Army and excelled. And because for a officer below the rank of brigadier general, there's really not a higher post than the Joint Chiefs of Staff or National Security Council Oval Office. I mean, he's got the badge on his right side of his uniform. He has that badge below the button that says, "Back off! I work at the White House," and I'm stunned that this guy would get questioned. He's literally doing his duty. He heard something that he's required to report, and so he reported it. And his duty is being called into question by someone who never, spent a day working for somebody else other than himself.
That is such a good point. You're right. Donald Trump has had yes men around him his whole life. I could not
leg humpers, I like to say.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, I wanted to talk about ISIS for a second because with
let's talk about ISIS.
with everything that you've done in your career, I want to talk a little bit about this leader, Baghdadi, who was killed, and this is a good story for the country. It's a good story for the world. With that being said, what do you make of Donald Trump's comments talking about he died like a dog, and then he said he was whimpering, and then he was crying, and then he talks about his book in 2000? The point I'm trying to make, Bryan, is that it appears as though he made that press conference more about him than the actual brave men and women who executed the mission.
Shocking, right?
Yeah. I mean, what do you make of it?
At this point, what really kind of sucks is that we're used to it. That was considered a successful press conference because at least he did mention the people downrange who whacked the guy, and I'm on a psychological level. I didn't like that Obama did not question Osama bin Laden's manhood, because in that part of the world, that's a big deal. Mm-hmm. He should have been advised to point out that bin Laden died hiding behind women. Okay, because we did that during interrogation.
And that's true. He did.
Said,
that you're right.
And so the deal is Obama didn't do that because that's not Obama style. Trump did it without being told, and he didn't know why it was effective.
Yeah.
I'm glad he made al-Baghdadi, who used to be Abu Dhawan, out to be a coward, because that does play in the Arab world. Also, even if he's sexing up the role of the K9 or fur missile, as we say, the Kilo 9er fur missile, it's still psychologically in that part of the world, the fact that the Americans will chase you down with a fur missile is a big deal. Mm-hmm. But the deal is, Trump had no idea. No one briefed him and said, okay, play this up. Or if they did, he went overboard. He made it sound like he was there.
Sure.
Yeah, and also, by the way, I'm talk around the campfire, which is my code word for back channels, is no one heard any whimpering or crying. Yesterday we learned that there were 2 kids, not 3.
Right.
And that yes, they were screaming and crying.
Sure.
And
I don't blame them.
You could. Because Daddy's wearing a suicide vest. And so nobody went uplink and then downlink to D.C. To a skiff in the White House and said that yes, we confirm al-Baghdadi was both whimpering, and crying. But even if he wasn't, somebody should have advised the president to say that he was.
Right.
But just for the record,
I hear what you're saying.
That he was not officially informed by anybody downrange.
Doesn't surprise
me. This is this is Red Rooster here in on objective Baghdadi. He was crying and whimpering.
Exactly.
No one said that.
Any logical person would agree with you on that one. If you're just joining us, by the way, Bryan Suits, he's an Army veteran. He's a Purple Heart recipient. Also a great conservative talk show host out there for KFI Radio in Los Angeles.
Well, you kind of mentioned how Trump had no idea what he was doing, but he did it effectively. That's just ignorance is bliss working out. I'm a Trump supporter. I'm a Republican myself, and I'm a little troubled by the fact that Trump's Trump's legal team is trying to discredit this man because he moved here from Ukraine when he was 3 years old, when he has served the country, more than honorably, despite the fact that getting a Purple Heart is the easiest thing you can do in the military. Isn't that troubling to you that they are willing to try to discredit this guy so that his testimony doesn't hold up as true, just to protect the president, if assuming he made a mistake?
Yeah. In fact, I tweeted this out at Dark Secret Place yesterday that might have been the official time and date that I stopped being a Republican, when Republicans or people on TV as Republicans discredited that serving officer, not a retired guy who turned into a Richard Cranium, but a guy currently in uniform. Trying to discredit that guy might be the moment that I officially stopped being a Republican. That was disgusting.
Well, they're trying to turn him into Kevin Costner and No Way Out or something along those lines, and that is just not the case at all. And to me, it's completely ridiculous.
I think we all
and very unbecoming.
I think we all can agree that it is ridiculous and it's disgusting, and I think we all share that same opinion there. All right, Bryan, I want to switch topics a little bit. I know you're a big gun rights activist, so I guess I could call you that if that's fair. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I want to get your opinion on this Oklahoma permitless carry law. What do you make of this new law that's in effect?
And full disclosure, I'm a partial owner of a rifle company, the Shield Group Advanced Military Technology in Boise, Idaho, formerly of Rialto, California. We make AR-15s that can be sold in California. And also, I exercise the Second Amendment. I lived in Oklahoma for 6 months during my field artillery officer's basic course, and I was unaware that was not the law. To be honest with you, when your producer, the amazing Jason Stein, when he called me and told me this, I went on the interwebs. I didn't know it wasn't the law, because when I was in Lawton, Oklahoma, I did that anyway, and so I have no problem with it. In all honesty, Texas, now Oklahoma, in the state of Washington, believe it or not, as liberal as Seattle and Washington is, open carry is legal. Suppressors are legal in Washington. Or as Hollywood calls them, silencers, but they're really not. But suppressors are legal in Washington. I don't have any problem with open carry. And obviously the assumption here is you're not a prior felon, as just like purchasing a firearm. Right. So as long as you're not a felon, honestly, and I lived in Reno for 2 years, and I have no problem with law-abiding citizens openly carrying weapons. Remember, in the Old West, the guy who concealed his weapon was the dangerous guy. That's why people openly carried them, and that's why the Wild West was really not that wild.
Let me be very broad here in what I think needs, and let's talk about mass shootings here for a second. By the way, coming up here in about 15 minutes, we're going to be speaking with Andrew Pollack. He is a Parkland dad who lost his child, and we all can feel a great amount of sympathy for what this man has had to go through. Now, I think there are several different issues that can help stop these mass shootings from happening. First of all, the president's rhetoric. I wouldn't say that's number one, but I think the hateful rhetoric certainly didn't help in Texas, El Paso. I would also say mental illness is a huge issue. Yes, you're right. We have to make sure that these guns don't get in the hands of the wrong people. There's where red flag laws come in. I think we need logical, though, red flag laws. And I also believe, and you're probably going to disagree with me on this, that some of these assault weapons that are used that were meant and were built to kill people, mass casualties, should not be on the market. What do you say to all those things?
Well, the third thing first, I could cause mass casualties with a bolt-action rifle or a lever-action, Chuck Connors rifleman.
What's the last mass shooting where one of those guns were used?
Well, why would you when you could use something more, slightly more efficient? That's cheap.
Agree. That's why I'm saying let's get them off.
Keep in mind that the mass shootings are a small percentage of firearm homicides.
I understand.
Year. I mean, they're
that's a good point.
Percentage.
I agree. The gun violence in general is horrible. I agree with you 150%.
And it's also concentrated, by the way. People don't know this, but less than 5% of the population commit more than 50% of the firearm homicides. And the mass shootings are middle-class white kids who went off their meds. So you're right about mental health. The second thing, I fully agree with you that the HIPAA laws get in the way of about 80% of the mass shootings over the past 20 years.
Especially in Parkland,
the
right?
Tech kid,
Yeah.
The Santa Barbara kid,
Parkland.
The guy in Aurora, Colorado, lived with his mommy who physically handed him his meds. Then
Exactly.
He went to Colorado, and within 6 months,
Yep.
his college kicked him out because he was a psych major, getting a master's, and they kicked him out because he was nuts. And so I agree with you that what we have here in California. The gun violence restraining order, the GVRO, it's based on relatives and coworkers who can call law enforcement and say, "Hey, this guy's nuts." And what we're seeing is that in 80% of these shootings, the middle class white kid is the one who does it. Because let me point out to you, there's 2 neighborhoods in Los Angeles, Compton. Perhaps you've heard of it, and Sylmar, and they have more real, actual military They have more small arms than Cuba, but there's never mass shootings there. Why? Because they're lower class economic neighborhoods, and people don't put their kids on Adderall there. At the age of 10. So I mean, if gun access is the issue, then why don't these shootings happen in Compton and Sylmar, Los Angeles? Well, it's because the kids aren't nuts when they go off their meds, like Adam Lanza and Sandy Hook.
And I think that a lot of it has to do with social media bullying. Bullying now doesn't. It's not just inside the day or the hours at school, but when you get home, that you see it all on the internet, and it's much more aggressive. And also,
the point I'm making though is access to guns is clearly not the issue, or else we would be having those in Compton. It clearly is something else, and it's middle class white people putting their boys.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that assessment. All I'm saying is, God forbid, if I have a child that's in a school, and if I had to choose, I would rather them have a shotgun than an AR-15. That is my opinion. I wish that would never happen to begin with, and I hope it never does. Sadly, these shootings are happening. So let me ask you another question. I think we agree on a lot of what we're saying here today, and I'm happy to hear that. But my question to you, Bryan, is this. Why can't logical Democrats and Republicans come together and get some of these things done, particularly the red flag laws? Why is it that Donald Trump sucks up to the NRA? Why is it that so many do that, and we can't just come together, Republicans and Democrats? I'm not saying take all your guns away. I would never say that. And by the way, I don't think the majority of Democrats want that either. Why can't they come together, both parties, and get some things done, man?
Well, because I'm at the epicenter of that here in California, which is the most gun-restrictive state in the country, which is why the company I'm part owner of is in Idaho making California-compliant guns. It's because Democrats don't have a middle ground. Guns equal murder. And Republicans don't have a middle ground. It's that compromise equals no contributions from NRA members. And that is the issue. And I'm not going to – I mean, I'm not an NRA member because I actually know what they're about. They're about gun manufacturers and not about Second Amendment, because if they were, they'd have a raft of lawyers here in California. And so – but also I know living here with the governor we have here who puts his arms around illegal aliens who murder Americans and then points to the gun as a problem. That is the issue for the Democrats who make policy. They're out there at the, well, why do you need an AR-15? And I've reread the Second Amendment several thousand times. The word need is not in there. It's about citizens being armed. And they don't hear people like me. And then as they say, the Republicans are afraid of that A- rating from the NRA or B+.
There you go.
Afraid of that.
Yeah, there you go. I agree with you. Well, listen, Bryan, I would love to talk about immigration. I'd love to have you on again sometime. And I want to say this again because I think it's very important. You are a hero. Thank you so much for your service to this country. You're the type of people that I want to talk to, and you're the type of person with the opinions that I want to hear when it comes to this inquiry, when it comes to Vindman. Bryan, thank you so much for your time. We really do appreciate it. Congratulations on all your success with your show there at KFI.
Hey, thanks a lot. Again, to my daughter, I'm just the guy who didn't flush.
Well, you're a hero in my eyes, that's for sure, and I'm sure your daughter feels the same way. Bryan, thank you so much for your time. We really do appreciate it.
Thanks a lot,
anytime,
Bryan.
guys.
Appreciate it. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll try to sneak in a few phone calls. And, of course, we have Andrew Pollack, a Parkland dad, coming up next talking about gun control. Take a quick break. We will be back right after this.